by electronics.
Welcome to the Metaverse Nomads podcast.
Sound waves reaching the microphone are changed into impulses of electric current. Signals are broadcast as radio impulses into space to bring new thrills and pleasures to millions in home entertainment.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you're here?
20 seconds to launch. Sometimes the bomb might explode without any warning. Here, shake hands with danger. You don't work on equipment when the engine's running. The tape is now completely rewound, ready for playing.
What is good in the neighborhood, party people? So yeah, welcome to an episode of, not even sure what to call this, man. Is it the Metaverse Nomads revival? Is it rebirth? Is it afterbirth? I don't know what the heck it's called, man. But we're here. And as you can see, we've got some new faces joining us this week, and some folks that were the usual suspects in the past that aren't here with us. And just to give you a straight heads up, we don't necessarily have a schedule going forward planned, but we at least figured it'd been long enough. We wanted to pop back in here and talk a bit about all things Star Atlas. So I'm gonna make some of the rounds here, man. King Brian, how you doing, man?
Yeah, doing great. Fantastic. Markets are up. The sun is shining. It's going really well. Excited to get into it. I'm excited that we're back because there's so much to talk about. We putting together that list. It was like, wow.
We do. We got a lot going on there. Falcor, how you doing, man?
Oh, great. Thanks. We got a lot to cover, obviously, but diving deeper than ever, into Star Atlas. We have the Vantara group and all the C4 stuff coming. So looking forward to diving in. I'm broadcasting here for the first time from my real life spaceship. You can probably see the rivets and everything here in the bus, but fun stuff. It's good to be back in the Nomads.
Yeah,
Yep.
Looks like it's kind of got like the Thimble make to it going on there. You think that's the manufacturer?
Sure. Ecos, absolutely.
Ecos. Right on, man.
Yeah. And BIOS and Ecos mix there.
Yeah.
Off grid and handmade.
See some folks there in the chat. Metabolic, Shaddix. We didn't even really announce this, as you saw. It didn't probably even pop up in your feed if you were following on YouTube until a couple of hours ago. Again, just super impromptu, just to kind of dust things off. And as it's already been mentioned, we got a whole heck of a lot to talk about, man. Where do you guys want to start?
I think we should start with what have you been up to since the last show? You've had your Sundays free. Curious,
Right.
Is it like sipping Mai Tais on the beach?
Really? Little old me? Yeah, just let you guys know how important you are. I left a pretty hot date at the park just to race back here in time for this show. So this is how much I love this community and what's going on here. So what has been up with me, man? Yeah, I've got my Sundays back, which has been it's been nice, honestly. It's been 3 years that we did that nonstop, and we did rotates over once in a while. I was able to duck out, but it's been good, man. It's been good. I think that when you've been a part of a project for so long, it's good to have some time to catch your breath and get a little perspective and go, as they say, touch the sand, touch the grass, jump in the ocean, all that good stuff. And so I got to do a bunch of that. Even this year, I've made like 3 trips to Budapest. It's like an hour and 50-minute flight. And so I just love that bohemian vibe of a city. And it's pretty cool. They have a bunch of geothermic pools and stuff there. So I've just been bouncing back and forth there, working from there for a little bit, and then back here to my home in Amsterdam. Speaking of which, of Amsterdam, Virtual, who looks like he'll be joining us a bit later. He landed here in my hometown this afternoon. So he's here. So we'll be meeting up a little bit later this week for dinner, and probably be Axe will be meeting up with Funcracker from Mafia as well. So Ronald will be joining us one evening. So pretty cool. So that's kind of what I've been doing. Heck, might as well also get to some of the some of the other things that are on people's minds about some recent events in Rome. I'm happy to just get that all out in the clear. Hey, Emperor. See, Emperor's joining us now. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. It's how do I want to put this? There's two sides to this that I kind of want to share. One is that we're in an interesting community and space where the whole vibe is decentralization. And one of the most beautiful things about on-chain is the whole trustless aspect of things being on-chain. You don't have to extend too much trust beyond what you need to, really, even though there's still aspects of that, especially as things on-chain are developing. But we originally started with 6 Metaverse Nomads. And then over time, a few peeled off. A couple of them are still within the Rome community. They just wanted to step down from their role as a consul and a nomad, not really wanting to commit to the show. Life shows up, and they had travel and family and other things that came up.
Jesse, can I ask a quick question? Since I wasn't around back then, is the Metaverse Nomad the host of the show then? The 6 people? Yeah.
So it started off, we're 6 consuls of Rome, and this was going back 3+ years. And for those that don't know, Rome actually, before we came to the Star Atlas community, we're heavily into Gala Games and the Mirandus community. And what kind of brought us all together is that we were somewhat critical of the things that we were witnessing happening over there in that community, and with the leadership and the CEO and there was just some really sketchy things going on, and we were the ones asking the questions that no one wanted to ask. And so that's kind of what brought us together, because we were all the ones who were saying, hey, wait a minute. And then that is kind of some of the formation of how Rome began. And then when we heard about Star Atlas, the fact that they had a white paper where, Gala Games is like, white paper, what is this? Don't really need one of those. Actually, Virtual's just joining us here. Welcome to the show, Virtual.
I am.
Perfect. Yeah. Perfect segue. He was just about to talk about Gala Games.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I was giving a little bit of backstory on the formation of Rome and how the original 6 consuls came together and how Metaverse Nomads as a show started. In fact, little interesting bit of trivia is that the first 6 episodes of Metaverse Nomads was called the Mirandus Gentry. That's how Gala Games centric it was in the very beginning. But when I first saw a couple of Wagner interviews, where he was talking about what he really envisioned for Star Atlas, and the fact that they had a white paper, and they were talking about virtual economies and all the things that go along with that. And it grabbed our attention, and we knew that was a project we really wanted to be a part of. So when we first actually got started with Star Atlas, a lot of the other guilds are like, oh, these guys are in every game, so they're not really going to really stake their claim over here. But how the tides have turned over the years. So one by one, though, as life can do, some of the consuls and the Metaverse Nomads started making some different choices, and we honored and respect that. And like I said, a couple of them are still in the community, still fellow Romans, and that brought us down to 3 for quite some time. As you know, the 3 of us, myself and Ray Easy and Fancy Hat. The short of it is that, a young guy that wanted to make some life choices differently himself, decided to part ways with Rome. And I think he just had some tough things going on in his life. Don't really know what all of those were, but I think some of that led to some frustration on his part. And in his exit, as he did, he kind of, wanted to throw a match behind him. And that meant show content, really, which is not that big of a deal, because who's watching 3-hour-long episodes of Metaverse Nomads from a couple of years ago? You know what I mean? It's it's perishable long format content. And then of course the big one that everyone's familiar with is he nuked the Rome server. But it's funny how good things are often disguised in challenge, because the most significant, amazing thing that became of that is how quickly the guild rallied. And within 48 hours, we were fully functional again in a new server, with even more interaction and engagement than we left the last one with. So as it goes to show you that, brotherhood and camaraderie goes a long way, and bumps in the road and things that disrupt it, are only going to have so much of an effect when you have the other things in place. So
I think you have to admit that was a war drill, right? You just wanted to see how good we were at bouncing back.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And do we have the number of Romans that joined the new server? I think it must have been at least 100.
It was a lot, and it was quick. And I was surprised
over 100, yeah.
Because the model was, and while we do have, I think, more of an unusual infrastructure than a lot of guilds. Like, we've got an email list, but we didn't even use it for this occasion, even though we could have. This was more, hey, everyone that you're friended with that's in the server, just shout out and let them know what's up. And then boom, 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 the floodgates open, and we were back in operation. So yeah, it was pretty cool to see that. And if anything, I think it made Rome stronger. So yeah. And then, of course, the other thing too, because it was an announcement. So, for people that are in the know, they saw the announcement. So nothing really to not make public here. There was the question of some assets that were parted ways with, but we got the bulk of that back. So, at the end of the day, very little damage done, and we recovered quite quickly. And like Virtual said, it was a good drill.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know what? Not everybody's going to make it over time, and some people have fallen away, and it's just the way it is. But the core community that's still here in Star Atlas and Rome, we're all diehards, man. Like, we've survived it all, and the future is bright.
The future is bright.
And Jesse, would you say that Fancy was leading Rome at that time, or had he stepped back? Like, what was his sort of leadership position at that point?
Sure. So about the time that I think it was actually the catalyst for when we decided to take a break for the show. He essentially shared with us that, hey, I want a new direction in my life. He's talked about exploring the British military, and we're like, hey, dude, we support you. Do whatever you got to do. But he had some unusual, I'll say, notions about what he thinks was kind of owed to him for his past contribution. And that's not how our model as leadership. We're stewards of Rome. And so basically we, at that time that he said that, and he was going to be on the show less, we're like, well, this is probably a good time for us to catch our breath and take a break. And then there really wasn't much conversation. And over time, he kind of faded out from conversation. And so there was nothing that suggested that this was going to happen or leading up to it. It was literally out of the blue. Like, there was no hint of anything. Just one day, that was it.
And the guild itself didn't really miss a beat either, because he wasn't really doing anything as far as leadership, right? Right. So yeah, and that had been for a while. I think he was just mostly on the show. Well,
here's the interesting thing. So while there have always been consuls in Rome, kind of. I don't even want to use the term figurehead, but we kind of brought this brainchild to life, but we've always believed in an infrastructure where there was no single point of failure. And I think that is that's what, blockchain and decentralization is all about. And so we've got folks like you guys that are representative of the leadership within Rome. And so as a result, we really didn't miss a beat. There wasn't like a gap to fill, because we have our own form of decentralization within the guild, so the structure still works fine, even in the case of struck by lightning scenarios. So yeah.
And I think that we're lucky as Rome that you set up such strict asset holding procedures to make sure that if something did go wrong, we wouldn't lose assets, because we have a lot more assets than what you had a hold of, but because of your policies, it really kind of saved the day. So thank you for that, and also a lesson for everyone. You just never know.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because that's the one thing that I would really like to see at some point, from that we have better ability to actually function as a DAC or a DAO within Star Atlas, where we don't have to put assets at risk. But for other guilds out there that that are trying to grow in this time where you can do things like we do, like we as a guild, we have a multi-sig. That's where that's basically the place where the assets are stored. But as you all know, if you want to put assets into play within Star Atlas, you have to put that in some individual's custody. So the best thing you can do in that scenario is put a cap on the assets that can be in any individual's custody in cases just like this. So yeah.
Brilliant. And thanks for sharing all that, because it's big
it's
deal
a
for
good-
Rome, big deal for the community.
It's definitely a good clean start, and we all knew coming into this, it's like a 10-year kind of roadmap, right? So there's going to be massive kind of evolutions through that, and we've already seen that in a lot of ways of, just diving deeper in different areas.
Right.
Like Brian, I mean, what you've contributed in terms of being on that first council and everything. I mean, it's amazing, and then there's other stuff going on, where it's like, okay, well, maybe Sage isn't for everyone. That's something where a lot of smaller, players got their asses kicked or whatever. But guess what? You don't have to throw out the baby with the bathwater. Like I've found so many other things, with UE5, personally, the GBA, we have a Chamber of Commerce forming now. There's all sorts of stuff we can get into, but I guess, that's in the show notes later on, but.
Speaking of evolution, I mean, I think what's around the corner is literally like 1,000x jump compared to Sage today. So, well, I guess we'll touch on some of that. It's pretty exciting.
Indeed.
I think this revival too kind of reminds me, and also as you mentioned earlier, that some of the consoles kind of fade away, and some people tend to fade away as the game module isn't ready for them, right? Maybe they want to do shooting or dogfighting, and with a persistent universe, people will naturally it's not there yet, so they'll go do something else, and then they come back as the game modules come out. And I think that we're in this this very short period, like May 14th is the UE5 with dedicated servers. Combat is coming. Just like Nomads are reviving, we're going to see a whole lot of people that we haven't seen in a while. And I think it's going to be glorious. And I'm excited to see a lot more friendly faces and welcome everyone back, right? No one abandoned us. Just some things weren't for them. And now we're here. And we're going to have a whole lot of game for a lot of people.
And that's always going to be the case as you have a long runway for a project. It's going to go through phases where it sheds skin, and then all of a sudden it takes on a new form, and then that cycle happens again, as we get there, and we will get there. So with that, actually, before we jump into that, you jumped on after we did some introductions. So we've got Virtual with us here. You've landed somewhere in a new part of the world, man. Where are you?
Yeah, believe it or not, I am in your corner of the planet. I took it was a brutal flight. My daughter, who's 3 years old, was wired and just she was excited. So I slept about 1 hour. But yeah, first time in Netherlands, and I'm going to be meeting Jesse in the flesh this week, which I'm super excited about. So yeah, going to be in Europe for a month.
Very cool, man. Yeah, you'll enjoy it. Lots to see and do here for sure.
I do have a question on that, Virtue. How did you fly over England and not stop by or tell me that you were coming to Europe?
I need the jet, man. I need the jet. KLM didn't want to stop over, so.
Yes, indeed. All right, man. Let's jump into some news here. What do we got at the top? We got a little bit of general news, a couple of items in our general news section, and I think since you filled those out there for us, Brian, why don't you lead the way? What do we got?
Yeah, let me grab the notes. So this is not quite Ray level of outside knowledge, because I'm more of a Solana guy. So I'm gonna give you guys some Solana news, which super exciting. There is a company called Superstate, which is going to bring NASDAQ stocks to the Solana blockchain, which is pretty damn exciting. The tech is actually not that hard. It's all the regulation and SEC stuff. So they mostly run through that. So we could expect to see a stock in the next couple months, like tokenized in your wallet. You can buy a company stock.
So because that's tokenized, that means then you're able to do fractional stocks, right? Are you able to, or are you?
Ooh, that's a good question. So the way that they have to
should.
set it up, that would be pretty epic. So the
Yeah.
way that they have to set it up right now, the tech is still pretty new. They have to get companies to volunteer to do it. It's not like a technology connection to the NASDAQ exchange. So the first company is Soul Strategies, and they actually have to take their stock and put it into a liquidity pool, and then it's traded off that. So a whole new way to trade stock. But I wouldn't see why not. They could somehow fractionalize. I don't know if they can, because they would need to fractionalize the stock on the other end. But
Yeah.
maybe you can only redeem a full share if you have one total. So you'd have to collect all the different pieces from everyone.
Right.
Yeah, really exciting. I would say this is probably one of the biggest changes as far as SEC goes. So that one I'm excited about, because it will open the door. Maybe in 6 months from now we'll have more stocks, and that leads into the next my next Solana news is that we're going to see some pretty huge changes to the Solana blockchain, or at least they're proposed. And I'm going to link this. I'll link this in the comment. So, that didn't work. Maybe I'll put it in private chat and you can post it, Jesse.
All right.
So right now, Solana is not quite fast enough. So this change, it's coming in. It's a blog by Anza, and they're going to talk about the way to get Solana to be a decentralized NASDAQ. And NASDAQ is very fast, right? Everyone talks about how they they built fiber lines from Chicago to New York in order to get faster connections.
Mm-hmm.
Solana can't do that right now, and that's reflected in market makers. So market makers are people that buy and sell really fast tokens or shares. And so they'll put a little buy order in, they'll make a couple pennies, and then they'll sell it on top. So they're always moving back and forth. The problem is, if the market shifts, they need to then close out their order to make a penny. They can't do it fast enough because of priority fees, and Solana infrastructure has a 1 leader. So one guy controls the block, which they need to talk to. And so if they want to get in first, they have to pay a bunch of money, which causes them a loss. So you end up with being quite, I would say, conservative on their bids, which creates bigger spreads. So this new change to Solana is going to make it so there's multiple leaders who we can all send blocks to, and we'll hopefully tighten the spread. And once we have that, then you're going to start seeing things like, quantitative trading, or whatever high frequency trading.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, priority fees will also go down, because if there's only 1 leader, then priority fees are jacked up. Let's say we have 10 leaders. Now, hopefully priority fees would decrease by 10x, and especially if we have spikes. And the reason why I'm talking about Solana is because Star Atlas is on Solana,
Right.
and I'm not I don't know if you're aware, but we had a pretty big priority fee spike in December, January, really, really, really big. And
Yeah.
we probably lost 5-10% of players, if not more. And it caused this whole movement to start running their own L1.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know if we have that on the list, but yeah. So this will help. Solana getting better helps everyone. So pretty exciting news, and definitely check out that link to the blog that was on there, because it'll explain it way better than I did.
Well, guys, I'm going to grab dinner, but I will hop back on. And I just want to congratulate Falcor for being one of the 11 Vantaras, very elite group. So make sure you guys talk about that as well. And I'll see you
Nice.
guys shortly.
Yeah, thanks, man.
What's the second one you got there? Or was that?
Oh, that was the second one.
Oh, that was the second one. Got you.
Yeah. They all kind of blended together.
All right, man. Let's get into Dow. Looks like Dow's up next. Who wants to grab that one? And by the way, since I've kind of been on a bit of a hiatus, you guys are having to school me. You're having to educate me on what's up, man. So this is good for me. That's actually what the show's about today. It's just to help me catch up. So.
Should we maybe jump to UE5 so Falcor can kind of talk about some of that stuff, and we'll jump back to Dow?
I like
Yeah, no, that actually makes sense because this event is actually starting in about a half an hour. So
okay.
Yeah, no, that's great. So things have sort of recently consolidated into the Iris Quest kind of gameplay server there, where they're doing some pretty creative stuff. So in about a half an hour, it's going to be a zombie apocalypse game mode that they literally just came up with themselves. So you're going to log into search mode, and you basically just go in there and random selection. Mud is going to be the humans. They're allowed to use weapons, and then you have anybody who is Oni is going to be a zombie. So you have to just do only melee, just trying to run around and hit people basically. And I saw some practice. It was freaking hilarious. And so there's some prizes with that. And so basically the way it works is if you kill a Mud, then they have to drop out of the game and come back as an Oni until everyone's a zombie and there's only one human left, and then they win and they get the prize. But there's a lot of other stuff going on with that.
So Iris, I'll just chime in. The Iris Quest is a big FPS tournament that they're inviting teams to. That's going to launch after dedicated servers come out, which is on the 14th. And this is like a little precursor quest to it.
Yeah, there's been practices that are on Sundays, so it's been kind of like, because I was doing the Gallia Nomads, streams for Rome every Sunday, but then it's like, okay, well, these guys are doing pretty much the same time, a little bit later, so it all kind of like melds together. But the teams are awesome over there. I mean, you got Hackmer and Dark Void superstars, and that 5-man teams and spectators recording, the whole thing, and sponsorships. A lot of that is from Super Phoenix DAO, and we're going to see if we can get some more of that stuff going through the GBA, Gallia Business Association there. So there's just a lot of stuff going on in the background. So like you said, it's sort of officially kicking off, but it's definitely lively, every week on Sunday. So.
Yeah, maybe it's worth reading the patch notes too for the May 14th. So May 14th, Jesse, is the next preseason patch. Mm-hmm. The Pierce X5 model is completed. It's gonna look beautiful. I think we're gonna get amazing pics, amazing videos, amazing shots of everyone flying that. Looking forward to the photos actually.
Yeah, this is one of the tricky parts. It's like you always hear about the team, and it's like, oh, we have NDAs, and it's like, oh, we can't leak anything. We don't know what to leak and what not to leak. So I got to be careful what I talk about as one of the guys now. But it's beautiful. It's freaking beautiful. That's all I can say.
Let's make sure we talk about Banter after this. I'll go through the list.
No,
so they're adding a brand new shotgun. So before they were using a placeholder shotgun they got from somewhere else. They don't actually know where that's from, but they have built their own shotgun, their own model. So that's coming in. Co-op dogfighting. Pretty exciting. It feels like we're playing a space game, but we haven't actually we've been focusing on FPS and racing for a while. So be excited to start flying again and fly with your friends. But I don't know if you guys, every time I fly, I realize how crap I am at flying.
Well, we had some of that early on. There's some videos I don't know, it's at least 2 years ago of Ray and Mr. T, and we're like blowing up Ray's Guardian or something, and they're all clay ships in the Mud CSS showroom. So this will actually be in space though. So in that flight training mode of actual fighting, and that's going to be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And this leads into the next one. So dedicated servers, right? This has been what's been holding, I think, a lot of tournaments back, is because when you've got these peer-to-peer, then there's a good chance that one person might have good ping and everyone else is lagging. And I believe there might hopefully be even better security with dedicated servers. Don't quote me on that. So dedicated servers, and then also the next one is major updates to Paizo's Arena, which is that Roman map.
Yeah.
Ship loads and more. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. Like from what I understand, the local servers, it's basically going to put you into servers that are people, closer to your geographic area, obviously, but that is not going to stop people. It's not going to be mandatory. So if you want to create your own thing with guildmates who might be on another continent or whatever, that we're still going to be able to do that. So it'll sort of be the best of both worlds, and I guess we'll see how that plays out, but it will definitely be upgraded.
So I have a question. I think I've asked this a long time ago, but since it's actually developed quite a bit since then, and you've put in the hours, you put in time, what are your thoughts about the mechanics of gameplay and anything that you think that stands out that makes it unique in the genre? Like if someone that has never been exposed to it before, what wow factor would it have for someone like, okay, wow, this is something I haven't experienced, or this is something that they're already familiar with in other games, but Star Atlas is honing in and doing it exceptionally well?
Yeah, well, from what I can tell, it's just incredibly dynamic compared to other things like Fortnite, for instance, another third person, obviously a huge shooter. I get a lot of practice in there because, the kids are 9 and 10 and they're in there a lot. So it's great training and everything. But I was talking to Brujo about this. It's like going from that into Star Atlas, it's like so much faster. It's ridiculous. And with the jet boots and everything and all the movement, and then the movement, they're going to be reworking that. It's going to be even more refined, over, the next couple of years, I think. So that's going to be amazing. So we're just getting a taste of what's going to be possible. And it's just unparalleled. I mean, I'm not even like one of these guys who is like a big time experience kind of gamer, but I'm learning a lot being in that testing side of things. Like there's guys, like I don't even understand some of the stuff they're talking about sometimes, but it's like, oh wow, this is like, the feedback that is happening is insane, and the impact. There's a reason the Vantara was created, because the impact is real. So
nice.
Yeah, and for me, it's and I think a lot of people will share this, but it's the movement, right? It's the gliding, it's the jetpacks, it's jumping in there and flying. And when you look at other shooters, like people just kind of walk around like really stiff, and it doesn't even look remotely or feel good either. And there's just something really special about it they've created, moving around the maps and being dynamic. And it doesn't feel crappy. Like if you're playing Call of Duty and somebody like slides in and like one shots you, or they jump, and people will jump and do stupid shit. It doesn't feel like forced movement. It's very like part of the game. It's natural. It makes sense, and it makes sense in Star Atlas because you're this sci-fi space. Why not have little foot jets or
Yeah, I think the integration with the economics is going to be the real icing on the cake. All that stuff will be refined, but then as everything else gets tied in, I mean, we're getting to the point where that's not really theory crafting anymore. I mean, we're talking about the mining, having actual like resources and stuff that might be usable or even required in Sage, and then already we have like the rewards, for the shooter stuff. That's kind of an independent thing. But one thing that I keep missing these economic forum things. But one thing that came up to me that I didn't really get, I forget what it was. It was like 2 million or 200,000 a day of Atlas that is still going to Faction Fleet. And it's like, what are we going to do with that when Faction Fleet goes away? Well, what the hell do you think you're going to do? You're going to give it to the freaking players. You know what I mean? That's a little bit, no brainer to me. It's like these people aren't playing the game, and then you got the elite, the people showing up. Put it there. So that's just my. I'll get off that soapbox, but
and
that's my thoughts on economy anyway.
the the tournament, Iris's Quest, I think. So Titan Analytics is donating 200,000 Atlas, which is about $300 to the prize pool. Star Atlas is donating ships. Polaris Fuel is donating like a ton of fuel, and that's how we're going to get these players coming in, because there's a whole group of professional FPS players, but like amateur, but they're still moving up the ranks. They're I'm sure they'd be happy to make $200 to come in, and then if one team wants it, then another team is going to come in. So we're going to start drawing people in, and that's not even in-game economics. That's us sponsors sponsoring people, because I want the game to succeed, and I'm making money from Star Atlas, so I'm going to put some money in the prize pool. And so is Star Atlas. So like that is another business itself, because it's also advertising, right? I have a product, Titan Analytics. I want people to stick with me, because then that generates revenue. So I'm gonna, pay people to play video games with my name on it. You know what I mean? Like maybe I'll end up having an actual team. That would be sick. So it's like we've got the game now, and now we can start putting all of those those pieces. There's just so many fucking pieces. Like it just blows my mind at how many things we can integrate with this product. Outside the game, and then inside the game. When they start actually having things that you can do in UE5 that's this link to the in-game economics.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling. I mean, don't even get me started on the photography side of it, from putting the skins onto ships to mining the pigment for it and everything. It's all connected. It's just, yeah, it's why we're all here. It's beautiful.
And Jesse, I don't know if you haven't, I don't know if you see, did you see the end-game demo of the mining game?
No.
Oh man, okay. Well, I'll see if I can find it when we're chatting later and watch it, because it's pretty cool. You've got this asteroid, and hard for me to describe, but anyways, it's live in the game. You can go out and fucking mine an asteroid, and it's not, excuse my language, it's not like a boring or a crappy, because I've seen a lot where you just run up, you fly up, and you just shoot it, and it explodes.
Yeah.
Not that fun, but this first iteration is pretty promising.
I was going to say earlier that thanks for that, Dominic. That's kind of what I was getting at about, you saying the one of the unique selling points of the shooter is the movement ability for sure. And I mean, while I am not an expert in first-person shooters, even remotely close, but the thing that pops up for me is like when I see like even the some of the footage that's even shared on Twitter. It looks like it's moving the direction of having a skill set or learning curve that actually makes it so that it matters. And, unfortunately, some games don't have that, but I really like the fact that it's going in that direction. In fact, this is one of the clips that I saw that I think was just posted in the last couple of days. That was pretty cool. Yeah, man, I dig the sights on that thing.
Yeah, James is a beast. That's the same James that dominated at Breakpoint on that first real life tournament. And these teams coming together, I'm telling you, it's legendary. You got the rug pull renegades. It's hilarious.
I love the name.
And the other team Alpha. So it's really it's tough competition. it's fun to watch and definitely be a part of. I'm probably going to end up being a drone operator today to stay alive, but
What's a drone operator?
oh, you know, the every player has photo mode. When you go in your menu, you can hit photo mode, and that's actual physical drone. It's a Parrot drone by Calico that flies around, and you can take pictures. It goes straight into your hard drive. You can post to Discord, and you know, we had photo contests early on and player generated content on the marketplace. So we'll see if that happens later on. There have been some talks about meta crafting and how things like that are going to work. The tech isn't quite there yet for integrating with UE5. But yeah, it's fun. I mean, that's part of what I do, you know, not to shamelessly plug too much, but that's my IP project, you know, the GalliaMeta.io with 8 photographers there, probably 10.
Plug it, man. Tell us more about it. I want to hear
Well,
more
you
about
know,
it.
yeah. I mean, Tenet, you know, he's a legendary photographer. I mean, I'm sure people have seen his stuff on X, and Onizuka, another Roman, just making great content, whether it's on YouTube. And Tenet's actually building stuff. You know, it's I guess it's kind of top secret, but UE5 stuff himself. So I mean, later on, there's just so much to cover. I mean, we could talk about this for hours. I mean, we're talking about getting into the whole whatever holodeck thing, you know, players creating their own worlds. You have, you know, Super Phoenix creating that. There was something on X about how there's going to be like that's going to be bringing millions of users, like all these spin-off worlds. And yeah, it's crazy. It's a deep rabbit hole to go down.
So I have a question about the drone. Is there a spectator mode in these? And
Yeah, no. Yeah, so that's the thing. If you pull out a drone, you better have a freaking good hiding place or you're just going to get capped in the head. Now, actually, if you go and look at the rules, so for today's thing, we got about 15 minutes. For today's thing, so you join in as a human, you can shoot people, you know, you got the zombies going to be Oni, but it said for Ooster, that's going to be spectators or team or something like that. So I think I'm going to join in the Ooster and I'll be safe and I'll do my drone. So we'll see if they follow the rules or not.
So combat photographers, man, they're targets too, huh?
Yeah. Well, but just so people know, like the rules, it's in the Iris Quest server there, but the rules are like you have to join in their voice chat to sort of be verified as a player. They're playing 7 rounds to be qualified for today's prizes. So that's what's going on.
I actually have a calendar of the events for Iris Quest, and that is May 11th is Zombie vs. Humans. May 18th is the opening ceremony and team presentations. And then May 25th is going to be the main event day. And hopefully everyone goes out and supports them because I'm just such a fan of prizes and tournaments and generating all that hype. That reminds me, you know, you saw that arena, right? They were just in that video. It's Paizel's Arena. That is also getting an update next week. It's probably less gray boxes and just more good stuff.
Yeah, biting my tongue. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah.
Okay, so when I saw that Paizel was getting updated and the dedicated servers were coming, and everyone is like, and Iris Quest is doing this, it's like, you know, I just feel like Rome needs to run a tournament. It makes sense on Paizel's Arena. It's basically Roman. So
yeah, well, we have you know, I've been doing the weekly thing, and you know, people are busy, but you know, Earther has shown up, Punjab, and you know, might have been a couple others, but yeah, I mean, we've been. It's pretty clear, you know, in this Star Atlas evolution, you know, we've been sort of leaning towards like the whole Sage thing or whatever, but that doesn't mean that we will not have those alliances and that we can't grow in those areas. So yeah, we have our U5 channel. So anybody who's interested, let's get organized, you know, jump in.
yeah, no, I'm thinking something big. Like, you know, everyone gets to, Rome will host it, but everyone gets to come, right?
Mm-hmm.
It'll be, we'll have to figure out some Roman word for it, you know, where you're inviting all of your enemies and everyone, and you're going to fight it out in the field of battle to see who's the best.
Oh my gosh, that's a whole nother thing. Like I got to give Winston props, you know, not only for this thing that he's doing with rebuilding the server, you know, after the nuke, but the Roman lore. So that lore like you're talking about, to draw people in for UE5 and shooter stuff. I mean, he has developed, I mean, we have a whole, channel where there's a group of people doing it, but he's been taking the lead on that, and it's incredible. It's good. That Roman lore, it's just deep, good stuff.
So Jesse, what do you think tournament wise? Should you go like do a bunch of like $500 tournaments, or something big and do like a $10,000 tournament?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. Out the gate, I think we would probably have some smaller ones to get the attention, the show rate, and then I think that could lead to a big one. But I like the idea for sure.
Just need to clone ourselves so we have more people to run these things. There's a lot of admin, I think. A lot of that. But you know what? We got a lot of people in the guild. We can get volunteers.
True that.
And I know that Dom has volunteered to be a permanent caster. Yeah, one of those guys that calls out the shots.
Nice.
All right, what else we got here?
Ooh, I think Falcor should explain what the banter is, because we mentioned it a few times, but he hasn't actually.
Oh, you hadn't spoke to it. Yeah, tell us what's up.
Well, it's sort of like confidential, whatever, but it's basically
Michael won't mind. He's on. He won't care.
No. Don't tell us about the secrets. Just tell us what it is first, and then you can tell us a few secrets.
Well, it's the people who have gone who have gone the deepest and into Gallia and UE5, and it's a hell of an honor. I mean, it's 11 people, and the lore behind it. Oh, I forget the whole spiel, but basically, we've gone so deep that the logo for the Vantara is literally we are orbiting Iris. We've already been to freaking Iris and back, which it's making me emotional just talking about it. But yeah, it's just that thing where it's like we're all here for different reasons, and the whole rebirth thing, for me particularly is it's very literal. Anyways,
yeah. So they're UE5 testers. And they get a Discord title, Discord color change, and there's going to be rewards for them. So if they test like every
there's
ship drops.
Yeah, there's ship rewards. I don't want to give away too much, but it's more about it's not about like the VWAP of I'm getting something. It's just more like the recognition of like the early pioneers and legends, because it's there's going to be millions of people, and it ties in with lore too. I mean, it's all tied together,
So you're saying you're going to get a limited edition ship?
Well, I'm not saying that. I don't know. I can't like. I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay,
we'll see.
What is your favorite thing that you're testing right now?
Oh man. Well, I am the shooter stuff is fun, but I'm a Gallia guy. Like right now I'm working on a video. I just having a hard time. There's so much going on. I got to finish this video, but the Empress, she's sort of the Metaverse realtor. She's my AI girlfriend, by the way. she's an actual avatar, whatever. Anyways, there's going to be a tour of Gallia mode of every planet and all locations. I think it was 5 locations. There's a moon that's orbiting one of the planets in there. I don't know if many people know that. And then Beyond the Horizon kept asking how to get to Garbunda, this gas giant with the rings, and that other station, with the outer rings. And it's like, yeah, let's do that. To answer your question, that is the end game for everything. That immersive world where we're all operating. And I don't know. I guess it's just in my nature to get ahead of things a little bit. You know what I mean? And so I'm kind of living there already.
What mode are you talking about?
Gallia mode, where you're in there flying around to the planets. It's experimental mode, and
that's the persistent product where you like everyone's gonna live and kind
of Magic around? Puncher. It wasn't. Was it last? No, it was the Christmas before last Christmas when he first put out this thing. It's like, oh, this thing I'm just working on. It's a side project, and it's like, are you kidding? Right. This is the future. I freaking cried when I watched that shit. It's like, holy shit. And it's I mean, that's everything. I mean, Sage, the economy is amazing, and that's the engine for everything, obviously, economically, but this is the end game where it's all going to end up. So to answer your question, that's where it's at for me. But
The first time where I'm in UE5 in this Gallia mode, and I see my ship, I could just see it. Like my mind is picturing the future. I'm on a planet, and I see one of my ships fly by that's running on Sage, and like lands and it starts mining, does its own thing, finishes mining and it flies away, and I'm just standing there chilling, just watching the whole thing, and like being in UE5 and knowing that the Solana the blockchain is powering these economic. It's like you don't even need NPCs because you can set it up with your own ships. Like seeing them flying around like that, like I don't know, that's just gonna be like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, it's kind of that's the evolution, Eventually we'll get there where everybody's in there doing that, and then for now it's like there's been a pivot, for me anyway, and sort of trying to bring it to the real world. That's why I'm sitting in a freaking bus right now. It's like I'm going to speak to a group tomorrow in the city. It's like a youth employment thing, and then there's some chambers of commerce stuff, and it's like I don't know how the hell they're going to react. It's like, okay, this is blockchain, this is AI, and these are freaking spaceships that you can freaking it's wild stuff, but enjoying the journey.
So I don't know if we actually had in the show notes, but I'm just curious to get your guys' thoughts on, the news that dropped about the Singularity Net partnership.
Sorry, 1 second at the door.
And the he doesn't have pants on. No. Yeah, it's shorts. Just kidding. Yeah, but Falcor, what are your thoughts, man, about the mention of the partnership with Singularity? And I guess there was 3 main things that were going to be AI driven at some point from that: AI driven NPCs, virtual AI companions. That's kind of interesting. And then,
dude,
of course,
I know.
agents.
Yeah, Brian just took off, but I had a question for him on that because, yeah, like I know they had a brew on it, and that whole tech thing. It's like people get ahead of things, I think.
Yeah.
But when I think it was a good brew, but Brian, isn't there something where you can integrate AI and you can have your avatar represent you in like Discord or something? I guess that's separate. But yeah, I don't really know, Witticus, in terms of like, where that's heading or the end game. There's just so much to keep up with, right?
Right.
But I think it's going to be amazing. I mean, obviously, I have a whole team where it's like it's me, Bastion, Atreyu, the Empress. She's getting into content creation, so I would love to have them be able to operate as my team, as AIs in the game and other things. And yeah, we'll see if those tools are open to us or just in the game. I think it can do a lot for onboarding, in terms of the in-game concierge or whatever of guides and onboarding, which is something that's been, missing. Obviously, it's not easy, especially for Sage onboarding, with the learning curve. But we'll see what they do with it,
I think it's going to be kind of crazy because the Singularity is Starless partnering up with these guys to do AI in game.
Right.
Because we have a few AI like tool, they're like external AI that's not integrated yet. And we play all these games, and they usually use kind of crude AI, decision trees. They'll have these narratives, and it just goes down the tree and the path. And I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, can you imagine? Like, I talk to ChatGPT all the time. Like, I'm using more and more AI just to become familiar with AI, so I don't get left behind because it's changing so fast. Right. It is wild how it is insane how fast it's changing. And so as you get lost in the rabbit hole, right? And I think about Zesk's, like all the lore of Star Atlas. What if we had just one random NPC in the station that was AI based, and you didn't need to code in, you didn't need 1,000 man hours to code in like some random decision tree where they can, go through dialogue boxes, right? And you can just freeform. So with AI, it allows this freeform communication where maybe you could learn the entire lore of Star Atlas from a random guy that happens to know about. Maybe he knows about the planet or the station, and you spend 3 hours just chatting to AI about about life.
And what's cool is that if they have that as like the foundation for the memory they can pull from, then the dialogue really isn't even, it's not even reading sound bites. They're able to just free flow talk with that as the foundation of what they know the lore to be. That would be pretty cool. Because basically, like even here, it's when it's talking about the introduction of AI-driven NPCs using Singularity Net era system, capable of learning from player interactions. So that to me is pretty awesome too. But even like you're saying, as a starting point, something that's simple, doesn't have to be agile, mobile, could be standing in one single place that you just go up and have a conversation with, but kind of a way to begin to interact utilizing AI with Star Atlas lore. That'd be pretty cool.
And I love everything about it. I think something else that really kind of sets us apart is Star Atlas is able to build so fast and dynamically. Like they're constantly shifting and adapting. Where we look at Rockstar, GTA 6, it's what, 15 years, in the making. And so if we want to get a game that has that sort of AI, they probably started now, which means we don't see the game for 10 years. Whereas Star Atlas, I mean, maybe we see AI this year, maybe in some, smaller version, but I could see it happening. And then suddenly Star Atlas is, Web3, bleeding edge. Now we have AI interactions. Like, it's going to be.
Well, I think we're going to start to see it come together pretty quick because the frameworks are being developed so that you can then plug those things in. There'll be like modules of things we're talking about. How do you get an NPC to access a database full of lore and be consistent with the way that it interacts with players? So yeah, I think that's all going to come pretty quick. I actually don't know much about Singularity and what they do, but it's all fascinating. I certainly want to learn more.
There's a lot of angles to it. I mean, if you apply it to the whole fleet management side of things, it could sort of democratize the whole Sage thing, right? And just tell your AI guy to go do whatever. You want this much of whatever resource, and then it happens. That could be good. Could be huge.
If that happens, I'm going to be surprised because I can barely figure it out myself, right? So like, there's so many variables.
Well, that was the third bullet point, man. Deploy AI agents to automate and optimize, the participation in the in-game economy. So like, if you've got AI that's looking at things like, all right, what's the most efficient here? Distance to this point here, the resource, how much is that resource going for in the marketplace now? What's the cost to haul it? And it's just all optimizing and figuring that out in real time. Shoot, that's pretty cool.
That is cool. And maybe that's Star Atlas's answer to Sly or Adam, right? They'll just be like, hey, we'll have AI do it.
All right. What else we got here? Did we cover that one? Yeah. What are we cooking with? Did we cover all of UE5? Do you want to get into
I think we're pretty good on UE5. As far, yeah. Should we go into Sage C4?
Yeah, I got C4. Yeah.
Yeah. Combat. Are people ready?
What do you think?
I think all hell's going to break loose. I don't think anybody's ready for combat. I don't think we really even. It's such a shift in game mechanics, and even though obviously the initial stages of combat are going to be substantially low risk, but still, I think it changes things up so much, which is why I think that they wanted to put the effort in to get it right, because it's not one of those things you can unbake so much. So yeah, I honestly don't know too much what to expect, other than I know it's going to change things up quite a bit. And then the other question too is like, I think this is on a lot of people's minds, and I think there's been chatter, but I don't know the actual answer. But do we see changes to the map pre-combat?
Yes.
Let me.
Yeah. So Michael just posted a leak yesterday with this new map, so I'll grab that.
Okay.
And let me see if I can grab it now. Falcor, do you want to chat about combat from your perspective while I grab this?
Yeah. I think Yeah, I'm just starting UE5 at the same time. But yeah, the combat. Yeah, isn't the map expansion going to be happening too at the same time, or is that not? Is that later?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I
It's going
think
to
we
be a
talk
lot of
about.
fuel. I think everything is going to expand massively. It just from R4 all the way up to food chain. Yeah.
So I think to combat two things, like not even talking about mechanics. How do we as humans deal with our stuff getting blown up and destroyed? Like, are we gonna, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the first
Well,
time. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jesse.
what do you think the actual risk is out the gate? I mean, I kind of sense they're going to like warm us up into that. I don't think you're just like cruise on out like, oh, my ship is gone indefinitely forever. So it's like, I mean,
It will
you'll
be.
have some loss, but the loss will just be time and effort and resources. So,
I think
but
the
still
biggest.
painful.
Yeah. So the biggest loss is probably going to be loss of earning potential. Like, let's say you're sleeping and because all of our fleets are automated, well, for the most part, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you could get blown up being automated. Let's say it happens at 2 a.m. And your ships, let's say, have a 30-second respawn period. Then they respawn, but you're no longer running them. So then
Yeah.
you've lost 7 hours of income
Right.
and fuel and potential cargo. So I think it's gonna be, it's not gonna be permanent, but it's gonna be a massive disruption to everything we know.
Well, that makes me wonder then, are there going to be some people that are not so concerned about that risk, so they just want to be like kamikaze and just like full on go after people that are more concerned about that loss and time down? I mean, is that
Yes.
something you'll have to worry about,
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Well, there's the safe zone, which you should be protected from, and then there's a medium risk zone. There's no high risk zone in this release.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to be in the medium risk zone to earn more, then yeah, people. We were actually just mentioning it today. Like, so the map is getting substantially bigger, and I still need to find that image. If anyone has that image and wants to link it in chat, so in order to fly from one part of the map to the other, you have to have fuel, right? And then theoretically, you have to get back. But if you don't want to get back, you could go twice as far, right?
Right.
So you could just suicide, kill everyone's scanners, miners,
Taking y'all with me.
and that's what we used to do in Eve. So there was botters in Eve, but they had to have a very specific ship, and they would go into like not medium risk, but like kind of safe zone where NPCs would come in and attack them, but they had a certain shield that would just regenerate. So they would just mine AFK, and then none of the NPCs could hurt them. But you're not allowed to attack people in these safe zones. The NPC police will come get you. So the NPCs would attack these, but you couldn't as players. But they had to have these really expensive ships to be able to do this. So what you could do is you could attack them, but then the NPC ships the police would blow you up. So you would get this like really cheap, like nasty fighter that you didn't care for. If you lost it, you would show up and you would blow them up before the police killed you. And I will never forget that, because it was just one of the funnest things ever, because you had to go like hunt them down and find them and then blow them up, but you would also kill yourself at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I absolutely, like, I think one thing that we've figured out is that if there's a will, there's a way. If there's any way a player could take advantage, they're gonna do it.
So you think the NPC police, are they just going to be totally OP and one shot, one kill, or is it going to have some aspect of getting away from the cops like GTA?
Yeah, that's a good question. I hope they give a little bit of chase, because that gives more player agency.
Right.
Right. Like, hopefully they use in-game mechanics like, some sort of warp disruptor or a way to pin people down, and then at least gives the chance to people to escape.
Right.
Ideally, because then you have a bit more like gameplay elements. And like, if let's say you are going to get destroyed, but it'll take you 1 minute, that 1 minute gives you a lot of time to come up with different build outs. Like, maybe you go for like the crazy guns that don't need a reload, and you just unload your entire clip, and then you die.
Yeah. Or some mod or component that gives you additional stealth, or some way that prolongs your life if you do have a run-in.
Yeah, I think some of the biggest levers that they're going to have are going to be the Banis, factions. We had some good Nomad shows early on, and that's sort of the saddest part that I miss the most, because you could go back and reference, but basically you have the Jorvik, right? The pirates, you got the Fotoli, and then you got the Tufa, of course. And we already know through the lore, for those who keep up with it. If you're not, I recommend you check out all of the lore keepers that are done, once a month on Thursdays or something. But yeah, there is going to be an Eoki invasion. That's the homeworld of the Ooster. And I mean, that they can come in and kick your ass at any time. So that's a lever. That's, there's going to be alignments with those Spanish factions. So it's very, very dynamic. So besides the medium and safe zones, there's that whole other, dimension to things, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this was the latest leak from Swagner, and we've been theory crafting on this for like 3 days now. But we went back into the past since he dropped it yesterday. But basically, since it dropped, and we can just go over it right now. So if we look at the statistics, Mode Bun Oni UST, that's 315 systems from what we have now, which is maybe like 13 each.
Wow.
Yeah, things are getting crazy.
That's huge. Yeah.
And this is just the first map expansion. There's going to be at least one more, right? One or two.
Yeah.
So one of the first things that comes to mind for me with that is now the relative distance that you can travel to anything resource-wise or whatever you're doing within your faction. That changes it up substantially. I mean, if you're in the farthest reaches and you want to get all the way back to CSS, that's a haul.
It makes everything feel way more real. Like with Eve, it would take you 2 hours to get to the HRZ. Hopefully this will feel the same. So we don't know. So these numbers between the systems, we don't know if that's warp range or if that's just some sort of unit of measurement. So it'd be interesting to find out. But the big difference between this map and the last map is we didn't have any like 299s, right? We had, because I kind of view warp range based on the ships that can do those in one shot. Because if your ship's warp range is less than the distance, that makes it take twice as long, which reduces your freighting capacity by 2. Now that there's 299s, 2.78s, and you can actually use smaller freighters. So like, let's say the ship, it has 3.5 AU warp range. It actually has a lower cooldown than other ships because they're a small ship. So there's going to be this game where now you're going to use the smallest freighter that you need for the warp range to get a bit more efficiency. And then you're going to need, like you said, like, because there's so many supply, like right now from MRZ 20, I can fly back to the CSS and sell my goods in 10 minutes or so, 2 warps with the sled barge. So the things are already on the market. But now what happens if I'm like, on that far right yellow guy right there, right? So first, I didn't need fuel when I was in right now. You don't need fuel. You could just go there and you're done. But now it's gonna, let's say it takes you an hour to go back, but then you're gonna have to stop and refuel, which doesn't really exist right now. So you're gonna have these outposts. That's what, outposts. Okay. So core systems. I don't actually know what that means. I think it's referring to safe zone, potentially. And the safe zone, maybe you can't be attacked. But
so it's a little less than a third then of the total systems would be considered safe zones. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And if anyone, Buzzik, he leaked that. Yes, Buzzik. With all the new elements.
There's a ridiculous amount of resources too, right? Like it was 100.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
If anyone has the link to the resources leak that Danny did, that would also be useful. So the other thing that is completely different here is there's planets now. So we don't have planets. It's all like they're like fake planets
Right.
that they're, or maybe this is asteroid. Yeah, I think they're just fake planets. But now there's actual planets that I think you're gonna have to fly to. So if you're at a star base, then you fly to a planet, which is gonna cost fuel and or is it maybe the asteroid belt that is kind of fake? You just fly to.
So based on that, though, I mean, it looks like you're only talking about if the planets are within systems, and that's only what, about 3 planets average to a system, or are there some systems
There's 4 planets. So if you go, so this is going to be part of the tour Gallia mode, but basically this all ties together, guys. Like if you go back to the early manual of Sage, like you have to go through the tiers of the star bases, and to get to the 4th outermost planet, which in Gallia mode is Garbunda the gas giant, in Sage, I think to get to the the tier 4 thing, you have to get to that outer ring of the system, if I remember correctly, in the manual. So it's all sort of coming together with the physical places and Sage. It's freaking wild.
So yeah, that sounds about right. That if there's 4 planets, and we've been, so if you look, can I zoom in here? I can't zoom in. No. There's little circles, and then there's like little hat squares. So it's possible the circles are planets. And this is like if you look at the colored areas, maybe circles, and then maybe star bases.
Well, you've got asteroid belts too. Like that's where you spawn in Gallia mode at Orhart Station. You're basically in this beautiful nebula that's surrounded by these asteroids. I believe there's 3 different sizes that you can mine or whatever. But it's interesting. Like a little pro tip: if you go to the outer parts of those asteroids, it's like you get titanium instead of like copper and stuff. So it's like, and I'm sure it's the same thing here, right? Like in these little colored things, you go to the outer parts. Maybe it's more rich, or who knows? Yeah.
So this, if you look at this blue outline here, we think that is potentially all Oni. And then to the right, there's the yellow line. That is potentially all of Ooster. So there's a bit of overlap. So it's entirely possible this map right here is actually all core systems that we're seeing. And then MRZ is on the right. And there's overlap between Ooster. So this could just be the core systems, which is kind of wild. I'm wondering if anyone has bothered to count any of these circles yet. So huge.
And what are the blue marks? There's round ones. Are these intended to be icons for ships? Is it intended to be like what are those things?
So it's possible they're asteroid belts or they're planets.
Okay, because I mean, if each of those are systems, then that would actually be a lot more planets than what should be in a system. That's why I thought it was something else.
You're probably maybe there are systems and we can't see the planets on here. Does anyone else have any idea? Has anyone else figured it out? So something else that's come up with combat is there's going to be and there's been very little information about this, but there's going to be something called like front lines. So there might be a line, like let's say that we just drew a line between, this red, just do a line down the map. And theoretically, players won't be able to go past that because it's like a defensive line. Because it would be kind of lame if you had all of your fighting ships in the front and then everyone just warped past them and just killed all your stuff in the back lines. So there's some sort of way that you're going to be protected, and in order for people to push the lines back, they'll have to, go defeat the star bases, which are holding the line, and then move it, and then attack the things that are inside of it.
Well, I think you would have, in addition to the ships for defense, you would think there would just be like static territory defenses. What was the model in Eve?
So Eve had it, or there was no defenses. So you would set up a space station and then you put a bunch of guns in it.
Yeah.
And like all of your stuff. The problem that happened early on was that people could just show up and kill your base before you could log in. So they implemented like a 24-hour cooldown. So you'd have to show up to some starbase, fire a bullet at it, and then 24 hours, the shields would drop. So your immunity would drop. So then everyone would schedule like, okay, everyone has to log in, take your ships, get to the starbase in 24 hours. And so both sides would show up, the shields would drop, and it would just be this it was chaos. It was, yeah, absolutely insane. And the turrets would start firing. What else? Combat leaks. So these little squares. Oh,
Let's go a little deeper into that. Sorry, guys, I'm back.
welcome back. Just in time.
Just in time, yeah. Save it for the best parts. But yeah, just to your point, Jesse, what Michael has stated that he doesn't want is people just moving into another faction and just destroying everything and everybody, or making that really easy. So my current understanding is it's going to probably be a faction border and then also region borders. And I'm assuming that, people will be able to reinforce those with toolkits or some other component that we're going to have to build. So, to really penetrate that and then go destroy a starbase, I don't think it's going to be easy on any level.
Right.
It's probably going to be a lot of back and forth on that.
Yeah, because war just in general is costly, and then not only is it the acquisition, the acquiring a new area, but then you have to have the resources to continue to hold it. So it should be a deterrent in some way to say, okay, is it worth it for us to do this? And are we going to make a big push? Are we ready for it? Can we afford this? And so, yeah, I would think that you would have some type of resistance for the faction or territory that doesn't necessarily even require the ships of people in that faction.
And one thing Danny has stated is that the rewards are really going to be juicy. So we don't know what that is, but I think on the flip side, the incentives to go and penetrate and win over territory is going to be good. So we'll see. To me, on the screenshot that's being shared, one of the most interesting points is the resources per planet. Over 16 different resources per planet average.
16,000, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, if you see that last line, 16,000 resources, but that last line. So have we talked about claim stakes yet?
No.
Okay.
Oh, planet. So per planet, there will be 16 different resources. Got it. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. And
Virtue,
go ahead.
So that's planet, but will we still have asteroid belts, or does this replace asteroid belts?
No, I think asteroid belts are going to be its own thing with rarer resources, RNG, depletable. So it's going to be more competitive for getting the good stuff out of the asteroid belts, and that's where the imps will still have utility, because really the Armstrongs are going to get, they're going to have a lot less utility outside of the asteroids. But if the asteroids are really juicy, the Armstrongs might still be really powerful, which I know will be good for you, Brian. I think you're probably still the Armstrong king.
So am I missing something? Or when we say 16,000 resources, are we talking about 16,000 different resources?
No, there's 108. Have we pulled up the cotton candy chart or graphic yet?
That's a good segue. So, Jesse, I put 2 more images for share.
Right.
If
you want the cotton candy first or the other one?
Yeah, cotton candy.
All right. Good God.
Yeah. So this is a mind-blowing blur of resources and data points that Danny leaked. So it is confirmed as potentially, it's not finalized, but 108 resources. So we're going from 9 to 108, which is, mind-blowing.
So again, so that I'm clear, that 16,000, that's kind of like an end game number for resources. Those don't exist in a spreadsheet today, but you're saying we're about to make a jump from what we have now to the 108. But that is
I think that's the number of resource deposits. So the 108s, they'll be repeated multiple times.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's my understanding it. And one thing that's exciting for the UE5 guys, like Falcor, is there's going to be some exclusive UE5 resources. So that's really going to create a whole other layer to the economic loop, because now people can go grind in UE5 and then sell those resources to Sage players. And it's just adding I mean, I'm so pumped about it. I mean, hopefully we get thousands of people just grinding UE5 to get some of those juicy, rare, powerful resources.
Right.
Yeah, it's just another lever.
But
I mean, they can use it
yeah,
however they want. Yeah, it's amazing potential.
yeah, and then of course the UE5 players, they'll probably still have to go buy ammo and stuff like that, ammo, fuel from the Sage players. So it's really creating another layer to the circular economy,
You,
and it's never been done before.
you know, when I see this, one of the things that comes to mind is like, man, somebody call Solana and tell them to eat their Wheaties, man, because there's, there's a lot of heavy lifting coming.
It's funny you say that. I was thinking about doing a tweet and saying like, this is all live on Solana, and you better be prepared because we're adding 16,000 resources and planets, and every single one of those things is a data point.
Yeah. Wow.
So something I noticed about this image is it's the same image as what Swagner showed us, but it just has more stuff on it. So it's possible that we could take this image and the other image, because it has a bit more detail on, like, if you see in the top of the image, it says like Oni, it says core, etc. So we may be able to overlay these two maps and get more information.
You think there's any Easter eggs in here that haven't been found yet?
I actually tried to like count. I was able to decipher 60 resources out of the graphic. A lot of them is just a bunch of text superimposed on top of each other, so it's hard. But
Yeah.
this is a good segue to claim stakes. I mean, one of the most exciting things. I mean, I know there's a bunch of Romans, a bunch of people that are super excited about claim stakes. And
Jesse,
claim stakes.
Sorry, Richard, can you swap to the second image, Jesse?
Here we go. What up? This one?
Yeah.
So claim stakes is going to be one of the most intense, complicated game loops of the entire game. I mean, Michael Wagner said it's a 180 IQ game loop. So back to, all the decisions, and, there's 16 resources per planet. Which planets do you put your claim stakes on? How you build your claim stakes, the buildings you put on. Do you go vertical? Do you go horizontal? Again, I don't know all the details. I've just heard bits and pieces, but claim stakes can be incredible. And then you can level up your mining drills and level up your power stations, and there's going to be new types of buildings that were not in the original Sage manual. So yeah, it's going to be wild.
Something that blows my mind is we think about all those resources with these claim stakes, and there's going to be 1,000 recipes as well. So you can't, like, if I want to build something that takes 50 different things, like beryl and base beryllium and biolumite, these are all planets. These all require claim stakes. So I would need like 50 claim stakes to be able to do all that, which is going to be highly unlikely. So it's like we're gonna all have to work together and specialize, and gonna be so much more trading to build anything, I think.
Yeah, I mean that's one of their North Stars on the economic side is, can they make it impossible for someone to do everything? And I take that on as a challenge. My goal is to be able to do everything. So far, I've been able to, but this time with this update, I'm a little worried I'm not going to be able to, which is a great thing. I mean, if they can do that, it'll be phenomenal. And I think with UE5, especially if there's a whole bunch of things people can do there, it's going to be tough to, like, I can't grind UE5, right? I'd have to hire people, which is a good thing. So it really feels like the economy, which is already the best in Web3, is about to go parabolic in complexity, specialization, opportunities, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm super excited. I mean, one thing we can theory craft on is what are going to be the new recipes. I mean, some obvious things are missiles and bombs, right? Right now, we've only been crafting ammo, but obviously with C4, we need missiles and bombs. So I think a lot of the resources and recipes are going to be for combat. Any other theory crafting around new recipes?
I mean, will there be any component or modules that are craftable that come online?
Yeah, they've been hesitant to green light that just because the loadout for the ships is not going to come online with C4, but a lot of people want to craft those, so I think they're going to include that to some degree. I mean, I'd love to start crafting stuff, right? I mean, even if I can't load it out when C4 starts, I still love crafting stuff like that, preparing for the
Right.
future.
So one of the blockers with crafted components is they were planning on having them be CNFTs, but the crew launch, wasn't the smoothest because no one had ever used CNFTs before and they didn't know how to index them. Like you'd be like, oh yeah, we'll just go CNFTs. Like, okay,
Has
well,
that
how?
improved, Brian? Has the technology or the infrastructure improved?
It's improved because Star Atlas, like, I'm pretty sure, I don't know the specifics, but I think they just paid, the guys at Triton and Helios the money to make this happen. I'm not sure that what they've done now will necessarily carry to the next iteration, right? So I think they felt a bit burned by it. So if let's say that they do move to components and then something goes wrong again, there's a lot more crafted components than there is crew. So what then? So I think they're just taking it really, really slow and methodical, and maybe there'll be a new technology that they can use. But again, that's just my insights. No back channel access here.
Sure.
Have you guys talked about council rank?
Nope.
Nope.
So obviously, yeah, that's coming, and with council rank, the people that have been grinding, playing Sage, and building up their XP, obviously will have an advantage. And then they're going to remove the cap. So and it's a weird thing because obviously, whales buy a lot of things. Whale like buying more things, and Michael doesn't really want to choke the whales too much. So, there's definitely a sweet spot between um, choking whales and allowing whales to continue expanding and growing. So I think that's why they let the XP build up. But I think to some degree we're gonna get choked.
How do you choke
Like,
a whale? Do they even have necks?
I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna find out, but yeah. So it's gonna be interesting. Probably be good, but I think because the cap's gonna get removed, Michael also said that people will be able to bring in all their assets relatively quickly if you've been building up your XP. So I mean, because we've been building up XP now for almost a year, right?
Right.
Hey, we probably should have started with this, but so C4, combat, claim stakes,
Crafting habs.
crafting, and what's the fourth one?
Claim stakes, crafting habs, combat, and council rank, right?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, crafting hab is going to be interesting. I actually that's the part I'm the most confused about. I know that if you bought some claim stakes, there was like the crafting stations and stuff like that. And I know there's the CSS habs, which also have some UE5 utility. So I don't understand yet how that's going to come into play, but my understanding is we'll probably have maybe some exclusive crafting recipes and also maybe some crafting buffs and potentially some crafting savings, as far as taxes, which is also part of the appendix, the Atlas appendix. I don't know if you guys talked about that, but that's another pretty cool, exciting thing coming as well.
I haven't talked about that, but that does remind me what we're missing and what most space games have is we don't have space station inventory yet, or planet inventory. And that's going to be huge, right? The minute that we have to build warehouses to store all our stuff.
That sounds painful and expensive.
Exactly what Chris wants in the economy, right? He wants us to go buy a bunch of stuff and having to build more things, and it's going to be. But it'll also stop people from hoarding as much, right?
Yeah. I don't know if that's going to be activated. I know that's coming at some point, but I don't think it's coming with C4.
Probably on the
And-
roadmap somewhere.
Yeah. But that definitely cool and exciting. Yeah, Atlas Appendix. Yeah, I think you guys didn't do a show since that was dropped, right? Jesse, you guys didn't talk about
Yeah,
that.
they haven't.
Yeah, super exciting. I mean, obviously, if let's say there was tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people playing Star Atlas, and 50% of them lock some level of Atlas, it could suck, a quarter, half of the entire supply off the market. And of course, tokenomics is supply and demand. So there's less supply, price usually goes up, especially if there's hype and all of that. So pretty excited about it. I think the perks make it a no-brainer. I calculated the APR, the ROI on the lockers, and what they've done, which is great, is the lower tier lockers get like a triple figure APR. I guess it was like 100+%. So it really becomes a no-brainer, especially if the soul fees are subsidized. If that happens, then you just got to lock. It just doesn't make sense not to. Plus, you get crafting fee savings. I forget all the perks, but the perks make it a no-brainer.
They're adding new
Go ahead.
tiers, which I think is a huge one.
Yeah, for sure.
Because right now, Jesse, level 4 tier is 5,600,000 Atlas. You get a 45% fee reduction. The next step up is 72 million Atlas. So it's like once you hit 4, like that's like 150 grand. Like, are you going to hit that one? So you just stop blocking. So they're introducing maybe 2 more, but the next one's going to be, I think, at 22 million. So have even greater fee reductions. Plus rental fee reductions. They're adding in more reductions as well. I think these new tiers are going to be pretty phenomenal. I mean, I'm actually locking Atlas in right now, just saving for that 22 million tier.
So it's already working.
It's already working. I mean, well, who's going to sell Atlas for like whatever 0.11? Anyone selling Atlas right now, you're crazy. Stop selling your Atlas. Stop selling your Atlas, and let's hit dollar.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, I mean, all the puzzle pieces are really coming together. Do you guys talk about HoloSim?
No, not yet. Yeah,
Jesus.
there's so much
I mean,
to catch up on.
there's going to be a 6-hour Metaverse Nomad comeback, right? Yeah, HoloSim is the free-to-play layer. It's Sage basically at a 10x, maybe even higher speed. So basically, you go in and you can craft things a lot easier, a lot faster. So it's really built to kind of introduce people to Sage, get them hooked, and then you'll understand, as Jesse, from a funnel perspective, the idea is, hey, let's get new people in there, let's get them hooked, and then drive them to the real game, either through rentals or if they're excited enough, let them buy real chips. But I think this is going to really grease the chute for new people and prospects to at least get a taste. I think the combination of that plus UE5 can really start converting a lot of curious people into diehards over time. So what's your thoughts on that, Jesse?
I mean, yeah. I mean, anything that kind of creates an entryway and opens the floodgates, game loops that make sense to a person that is just getting started without trying to wrap their head around all that is Star Atlas. is a good thing, because when you think about it, it's interesting when, for those of us that have been around the project for so long, you tend to forget how much you've acquired in knowledge about what is becoming Star Atlas. And imagine trying to blow someone's hair back and try and break that down to them in an afternoon. That's a lot. So I think anything that presents an opportunity for people to get involved in a meaningful way is good for the project as a whole.
Yeah. Did you guys talk about the May 14th update on UE5?
I think at
did.
this point you should just assume that we didn't cover too much, but that one we
Man,
did.
what have you guys been
Yeah.
talking about?
We did. We covered that. But I want to jump back to the HoloSim real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Jesse, the HoloSim is going to be on Star Atlas's L1 basically. So it's their own, like it's running on their own chain. It's the test chain. It's Apollo, but it's also, so it's super fast. It's crazy fast, like 10 times faster than the mainnet. Well, actually, mainnet is really fast now, but it's even faster. And so this is not just an onboarding tool. It's also a test run for Star Atlas to put their game on their own L1 if they go down that route.
What does that? What are the known challenges with that, and then what does that look like for, I guess, reconciling if it's going to be a layer one? So you're saying that, with my limited knowledge of what that actually means, beyond the fact that, so we're looking at the potential some point to completely displace Solana in the process with our own layer one for where Star Atlas functions and operates.
So huge question. It's going to be a Solana clone, so we won't be able to build our own chain. So that takes a huge amount of risk and blockchain development out of it, because they could just keep cloning Solana.
Yeah.
So that's great. They can just clone Solana, build their game on it. The programs on their chain will be interoperable with the Solana blockchain because they're the same code. The biggest, I think, hurdles right now is bridging. So moving your assets from Solana to this new one, you need some sort of bridging mechanism or cloning mechanism to copy your assets over. There's like administrative annoyances, like wallets won't work on this new L1. You have to use a wallet that has a custom RPC port to be able to connect to it. Things like explorers won't work on it. It may not be easy to transfer tokens. Like you couldn't transfer a token from Solana to this other layer without bridging it. So there's a whole lot of interesting aspects. I think they're all very solvable. The other really cool thing about it for me is that if we do go down there, I'm not saying they are going to, because we also know that Solana is constantly improving. Right. And if we don't have to move, that'd be great. But we can't keep losing players every time priority feeds spike. So the other really interesting is once it is on its own chain, then everything is within this ecosystem, right? Your Atlas is not necessarily transferable to this outside world anymore. You have to offboard it. So that kind of makes it this whole new world outside of everything, which I think feels kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, it does. I mean, and the thing that we're ultimately trying to solve for is, of course, speed of transaction, what the amount of transactions will be, and then the cost of the transactions by keeping it within the ecosystem. So then, but as you mentioned, there will be a jump porting in and out.
Yeah.
Now, question, Brian. I know Michael hinted about this, but the validator side of it. What's your thoughts? I don't know if you know what Nate from GG is doing with his deep infrastructure, which he's doing quite well. They have deep nodes all around the planet, not all around the planet, but dozens of countries now. Do you think that if Star Atlas used Nate's infrastructure, to have nodes around the world, we could have a decent validator network.
We could do that, but we wouldn't have to use his infrastructure. You could just spin up a machine just like Solana does. It's fairly painless, and I'm not even
What's the cost around that usually?
So on Solana testnet, you can get a machine for $200 a month. For mainnet, it's about $700 a month. But if Star Atlas is running its own chain, it's not going to have nearly as much. It's probably even as testnet. So I imagine we could probably get machines up for AtlasNet for $150, like per machine. And then as you add more machines, you don't add performance actually goes down, but you add more security, more decentralization. Yeah, that's actually I would say that adding more machines is the easiest part of this venture, because Solana has that all pretty tight.
Michael talked also about potentially requiring the validators to lock Polis, which would introduce a new utility to Polis, which is always a good thing, right? Thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's where things get weird, because in Solana, validators are incentivized to do the right thing because they get paid in SOL, right? They get a percentage. They get a percentage of the inflation rewards, which makes them operate with good behavior. So that's kind of how proof of stake works: is if you do the right thing, you get rewarded. Proof of work, which is Bitcoin, you just have to solve an algorithm. With this L1, the coin, it initially will use SOL to transact, but that SOL is worthless. So how can you incentivize validators? You have to find some other mechanism. Maybe you use Atlas. That's the transaction coin. So this is where it gets a bit weird, because then is there inflation? Is there no inflation? You have to turn inflation off. Like, that's a whole nother like economics area that maybe this is one thing I like the idea. It sounds nice, but Automata is not a blockchain company. They're a gaming company, and so if they want to have this expertise, they're going to have to pay for it, and then they're going to have to recruit a whole lot of people. They probably are becoming a blockchain company with all the stuff that they've had to do, but it's not their primary expertise. And so it's easy for things to, slip through the cracks, in my opinion, especially like economic stuff. Like Chris is so busy with the game. Is he then going to be able to figure out validator economics to prevent exploits?
But with all these new recipes and stuff, man, let's pray for Chris. I mean, Jesus, I can't imagine the amount of spreadsheeting and modeling he's been cooking and doing.
I want to know if he's involved with all this stuff yet, or if Danny's just cooking. Like, oh, here's the 1,000 recipes. Like, is he balancing it yet?
Yeah, he's. I heard he's cooking. Probably gonna take him months just to cook all this stuff. I mean, it's crazy.
So with the free to play Sage side of things, I mean, I kind of saw that as more of like an onboarding thing, to get people in steps where it's more simple. You know what I mean? Where it's like if I'm onboarding people, say people get interested in Shooter, and then they can earn a little bit there, or whether it's U5 mining or whatever, and then it's like they want to go a little bit deeper, and that's sort of like a stepping stone. But you guys are saying this is more of like a whole different chain, or is that just a potential?
No, it's both. So it will be the primary, like exactly what you said. I think that's the primary goal. Actually, I don't know the split. Onboarding tool, but also they get to explore running their own chain. And I think even though this Hollow Sim is free to play, there's no economic incentive. I think we can actually make economic incentives. Like, it's, in my mind, it's a bit easier to do it on this free to play when you're in this closed loop. Like, let's say that Titan Analytics decides they want to give out $20 a day to the number one player that's mining the most on a daily basis. And it's like, suddenly we've got this free to play game that now, there's, monetary rewards from other people to, from outside the ecosystem. So from outside, from core Automata, it's vendors and other companies that are driving value to this free to play market, saying, oh, you you earn $20 doing that. Now come to mainnet.
Well, that makes
I
sense.
think
Yeah, the sponsorship. Yeah, for sure. From different guilds
well,
or whatever. Yeah.
I think also they'll be able, if they, let's say, grind for 30 days. I think they're still figuring out all the incentives, but probably maybe get an extra small ship or something like that. Plus, they'll be able to keep some of the XP that they earn.
Hmm.
And I really like your idea there, Brian, around some daily leaderboard stuff. And I mean, it's all about dopamine. If there's enough dopamine, if it's organized, well built, people will grind and get hooked, and then bang, they're into the real stage game.
And was it Anthony was talking, we were chatting in Discord, and he was saying something that I think that it's easy for us to lose track of. He's like, how come people need to earn? I was like, oh, like, who says they have to earn money in this game? I was like, that's a fair question, because a lot of people that play video games, they don't earn money. That's kind of like not what we're doing in Star Atlas, but at the same time, so we've had to, like, we haven't really had a game. We've had a game, but it's been pieces, modules, and you needed to attract people with earnings.
Yeah.
But now we're getting to this place where the game is turning into a game. It's becoming more like fully fledged. Maybe people don't, they'll spend 8 hours a day and only make $30. Like, maybe we're hitting that sweet spot.
Yeah,
well, I mean, it's a formation of the economy. I mean, at some point, and we've talked about this on the show for years, that, someday, I mean, even early on when we were all theory crafting, even before we had the game mechanics we have now, we talked about, like, hey, what would it be like for, people going out to Starbase somewhere just for a concert, or people that may show up just for the Second Life experience of interacting with other people on a space station. And in fact, that they've never even left the space station. That's just all they do. So I mean, I think there'll be aspects of gameplay at some point that aren't necessarily all focused on the play to earn model. But while we're formulating the economy, I think that's kind of the theme.
No, I think you're really, that's the end game in my mind. Like, that's where, if I was watching a really interesting video yesterday on Roblox, and it was a YouTube video, and there was two 18-year-old twins that are making $1 million a year developing Roblox games. And I was thinking, because I've been wondering, how do we get millions of people that want to live that second life in the CSS? Not necessarily do dogfighting, first person shooter, or Sage. They just want to, say, spend time there, socialize, have fun. And I think the Roblox model, where people can build cool experiences or cool mini games and cool fun stuff to do, might be the answer long term. And I'm really bullish. I bought an Apple Vision Pro a few months ago, and the ability to create absolutely mind-blowing experiences. I mean, that's really where concert experiences are going to be incredible. Like, I watched Metallica just released an Apple Vision Pro experience. I mean, I've seen them live almost a dozen times, and it was a peak experience. Like, it was, you're right there. You feel the fans. You feel every band member. So when it's at that level, and you can go in the Super Phoenix or the Fly and experience, like, hundreds of people dancing with you and seeing their crew members and their characters do all the fun, cool stuff. I mean, that's when I think we'll see that take off.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the in-between step will be that hero's journey. You know what I mean? Like, we already have the business-oriented building of empires. And then maybe what connects all that is the people that don't care about the money, at least at first. And then the later stages is them discovering that, and step by step, like I said, we got 10 years. So,
well, back to UE5, I think UE5 has the potential to be fun enough to have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people that just want to go explore. They just want to do dogfighting. They just want to do first person shooters, right? And the cool thing is, at the very least, they're going to be earning XP. And XP with crew, once all the crew aptitudes and perks are activated, I mean, am I going to be willing to pay, say 3 or 4 times more for a crew member that's been leveled up to the
Mm.
max because somebody's played 500 hours of UE5? Sure. So people will get rewarded for their time, and that's not even counting the resource side of it. And I think ultimately, if we get tens of thousands of people that are willing to sink 5, 10, $20 a month to have fun playing UE5, I mean, that's going to take Star Atlas to just a different dimension on the economy side. And on that note, I thought and Dom said it, so I think it's a fair play here, but the word on the street is the next update is a big one in terms of how good it feels and how smooth everything is. Um, since you're a Vantara, what's been your read on the latest patch that's coming?
Yeah, it's every time it's just it's mind blowing. Yeah, it's smooth, and it's just going to keep iterating. I mean, that's all I can say. I mean, it's incredible. So the vision is real, the dream is real, and it's coming together, through that journey. And if you're just here, I think the people that were here for all the wrong reasons are pretty much gone. So the people that are here for the journey are truly coming into their own. And then what you're talking about with those incentives from all levels is coming together as well. And it's just a really special time. I mean, I wish I could share more. I don't really, it's just it's always about the people for me. I mean, obviously, we have however many, virtually you talk about the 1,000 true fans is all you need, right? To make things work. And I think we have that in Sage, and I think we're going to see that soon in UE5. It's like we have what we have with the, we have these esports servers coming together that are very passionate in Iris Quest, the Pantheon one, the whatever, the Vanguard, Solus's thing. And that's all a part of it. And we all get into this thing, and I was into it early on, like my first 3 years in Star Atlas. It's like, yeah, we're gonna dominate, and it's Rome this and that, and it's awesome. We're freaking dominating, but at the same time, it's like that getting out into the ecosystem, at least in my experience, has been amazing. Whether it's through those relationships, with the gamers in UE5, or this, finding your people in the Chamber of Commerce, this whole GBA thing. I mean, it's going to be big. I mean, it's taken a while to put it all together, but I could go on forever. But
Jesse, do you know what the GBA is? I think we're using acronyms you may not recognize.
Got to bring me up to speed, man.
Yeah, I do.
I've been in coma.
yeah,
Jesse's been on a beach for the last few months, man.
yeah. So basically, it's really been tied in with the DAO. I wasn't expecting this. I started showing up at the DAO open office stuff, and I got hooked on the whole DAO thing. But that was only through representing GBA, which basically came out of Gallia Merchants. So they started up this server, and it's yeah.
Can you say what it stands for first?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So the Gallia Business Association. So,
okay.
Yeah. Now it's been a few months of building in the background, but basically it's like a chamber of commerce. So I believe there's over 20 members now, over 40 individuals. So it's all of the, the creators for like BTH, all these other people, IP businesses. Yeah. And then your community developers. I mean, you've got Adam in there, Sly, you've got Shaga is even in there. And so I've been like literally going in there and recruiting. Like I was talking to the Shaga founders, and it's like, yeah, get your ass in here. And it's just so cool to just be breaking down all the boundaries in those relationships and getting out to the ecosystem. And then there's, I don't want to make any promises. There's talks of having a GBA roundtable kind of podcast at some point on Twitter Spaces and potential co-hosting there. So that's just one thing, but there's lots going on, I mean, it's been streamlining the communications through the DAO. There's channels there for the counselors as well as with the team. You know, part of the membership is you get access to the what do you call it, the SAC server, you know, working with the team. So it's just part of it. It's amazing. It's all coming together. Yeah.
I think we're doing monthly calls with Santi, and
Yeah.
it's pretty much like, okay, how can I help you? Like, he wants to help us build. Like, if you have an idea, is there blockers? Like, Michael Caine's been in several of the calls, and like, okay, you want to build something? How can we improve the documentation? Like, they put out this entire rental documentation for the rental code, so you can go build on rentals. And it's like, okay, what do we need more of? Like where is the documentation lacking? Like, they recently, so part of what I'm building is putting together basically some AI summaries of Discord messages, and kind of just give people like a summary. They don't have time to read it. They can, use those messages to get it caught up, and then hopefully we'll also bring them back to Discord if they find something interesting. Going to turn it into an AI podcast. And so in order to get messages off Discord, you have to either scrape them or, control copy paste. Well, they have this pretty awesome tool that will export messages for you, so you can, hook up to their API. So like that kind of came from this business meeting. So it's really working.
And the permission and the player profiles too. So Witticus, all the stuff we talked about early on with stacked player profiles and all that's going to unlock for DAC functionality and stuff like that. Apparently they have all that. Like there's like stuff, like one of the developer guys in there, I forget his name, but he's like, yeah, you can do this, 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 and this. I'm like, holy shit, what? I didn't know this. And I don't even understand the tech, but apparently the next meeting is going to be public, I think, right, Brian? That's what Sonny was saying. So I don't want to like promise anything, but that sort of opens up this ecosystem collaborative conversation to where that stuff can happen, and it gets translated, because it's like, hell yeah, we've had how many 3-hour freaking episodes talking about that stuff. So it's like, whether it's the guild organization of Rome taking advantage of that and plugging it in with developers through pips and this and that, it's like, I think there's been a period kind of like this compartmentalization of Discord. It works well for grand strategy, but in other ways, it's kind of like, wait a minute, things are getting lost in communications, and that's been smoothing out a lot better through what we're talking about in the GBA and everything. So anyways, it's good stuff. Yeah.
I know you guys have been going for almost 2 hours. One point I wanted to cover that I think I'm super bullish on. Like, I think this game loop has not been talked enough about, and it's the explorer loop. Okay, not first-person shooter, not dogfighting, but UE5. You and your buddy get on a ship, and you fly to a planet. You land the ship, and you can find rare plants, find rare gems, tame animals, kill creatures, loot the creatures. Like, that game loop to me, I mean, that's something I'd want to play, with my buddies for fun. Like, and, add some RNG to that, where, there's a 1% chance you get, a $50 or $100 rare loot box. And, there's a 1 in 10,000 chance you get a $1,000, loot drop. That to me is going to ignite the UE5 side, like, because everybody's just going to want to go and, you create these high risk, high reward environments. Like, you want the rarest stuff, you got to go to that MRZ planet, and there's some dangerous creatures there, and the odds of survival are not good. To me, that's fucking fun.
That is,
right?
that is. Yeah.
And the skins too, man. Like, in the very first showroom, it was so freaking magical to find. Remember the little statue, the little Joni thing that we'd find, and it would flip your skin to be Joni. And it's like, hell yeah, those Easter eggs. It's just pure magic for sure, man.
Well, one thing that's coming is pigments, right? So on that note, that's going to be a resource. So if you want to craft the coolest skins, my assumption is you're going to have to go out there and find those really cool colored pigments that you're going to use to craft the sexiest skins. And that's going to be a whole other economy, right? And it's funny because I wasn't bullish on skins until Crew came out, and then seeing how, not just myself, but people bought the coolest looking crew has completely changed my view. I think people are going to want to, they'll drop good money for, the rarest, coolest skins for their Guardians and C9s and, whatever ships they've got. So, but his swag just dropped a kind of a mind blowing leak on X. So if we can pull that up, talk about this. I mean, what's going on here? We got an Ooster on a bike with, I don't know, a little companion, and then looks like we've got, this is probably an unreleased ship. If you look at the GAU 2 manual or the GAU 2 offerings, there's a ground capital, which seems to be what's in the background there.
And look at
Yeah.
the ship coming out of it. Like,
Mm.
is that like 6 or 7 docking bays?
Yeah, those are bays. Yeah, checking that
This
out.
is wild.
Yeah, we had a clay picture of that with the giant tires, but this is the first I've seen.
Wait,
This
when
is
did you
awesome.
see a clay picture?
Oh, years ago. So these giant tires up here on the right. Yeah, this is a land vehicle from the GAU 2. I forget what if it's in. I think it might be in Armstrong land base something or other. But yeah, it's all there, just waiting to emerge.
So these motorcycles, is that in game yet? Do we know what those are?
I don't think so. This is
It's all
looks like
concept.
something new.
Wow.
What's funny about that? So those are the same two vehicles, but one's got cargo and one's got a passenger.
That's really cool. That is really cool.
Yeah, this is ArtStation stuff. Like if you go on and sort of dig deep on the ArtStation website, you can find like whole galleries of this stuff sometimes, like little gems, nuggets.
But not Star Atlas stuff. Are you talking about Star Atlas?
Oh
Yeah.
no, yeah, it's Star Atlas stuff. So all of these independent concept art guys,
Mhm.
they have their galleries on there. It's their freelance whatever thing, so they put it up
Oh.
there and they don't publicize it. I mean, they do after the fact. But yeah, it's fun
Wow.
to dig for. Yeah.
Are you saying this is not in-game footage?
No, this is concept. It looks like concept art for sure.
Looks like art. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just want to say I am super glad you're back. Super glad that Metaverse Nomads are back. I know a lot of other people are. You've been a staple. I don't know if you talked about this, but what's your planned cadence? I know that every Sunday was a little bit much. So what are you currently thinking as far as frequency?
I think the jury's still out on that. I think that as with all things, we get to kind of reinvent it. So the question is like, what is the theme? I'd like to get more voices, more people on here. Like obviously it's great having all you guys on here. As far as a cadence, I'm thinking that a good starting point is at least once a month, and then we can kind of see where it goes from there. I think that's what I'm looking to do.
Awesome. Glad you're back, man.
Yeah, thanks, man.
For sure, man. And I'm down for that if you want me to be here.
Excellent.
Be an honor. Yep.
We'll be your fillers if you don't get any legends. But yeah, man, I think the future is bright for Star Atlas. One thing I always look at the comments on X, and I like to see people's reactions, and I'm seeing a lot of people just be blown away. They're not in Sage, they're not necessarily probably even on the Discord, but they're just watching the footage and they're just like, wow. So I think it's just inevitable. Star Atlas becomes what we've always wanted and thought it would be, and could take a couple more years really to flush it all out. But on that note, back to UE5 for a second. Jesse, did you see the mining loop in UE5?
No, I have not.
Okay, we can probably pull that up.
Do you have it?
You can pull it up next time. I don't have it offhand. It's on X somewhere. If Falcor, you can try to pull it up. But while Falcor looks for that, what's exciting is that they're going to build like all the mechanics. There's going to be a UE5 version eventually. So they've already built kind of a prototype of mining in UE5. So that's really exciting. And again, there's a little bit of a skill element to it. So you give it enough time, like almost every loop that we're playing in Sage you'll be able to do that in Unreal Engine 5, and there'll be some skill level to it, which means, if you're a better player, you'd probably be able to earn a little bit more. So that'll be really advantageous for the smaller players. Like, let's say you just go and you buy a Armstrong tip and you go in UE5. Well, maybe instead of earning 50% APR, you can earn 65 or 70. So again, I think all the mechanics to really reward the smaller players that,
Was
play
there
Unreal
any
Engine 5, it'll be good.
was
Go ahead.
there any hint as to the type of skill-based mechanic that mining would take on?
Well, if we could pull up the clip, you'll see it.
I just posted an X link. It's the best I could find on short notice. But basically, Atreyu is playing in UE5, mining on a freaking cell phone. This is through the Shaga thing, but it's so fun. I mean, it's really one of those moments when I first saw this mining. It's like, yeah, this is the masses right here, So I don't know if we can bring that up or not, but I put it in the chat there. Yeah.
It's kind of wild. Like, I'm looking through Starless's X right now, looking for the mining video. Edit is like world class. It is amazing. Just scrolling down.
And there's some other.
Dom, shout out to Dom, because Dom's just been cooking with his video editing skills. Like the last video he just dropped for the May 14 update. I love the editing. So Dom, you're probably watching this. You're not live or recorded, but man, keep doing the God's work. It's looking great.
This is the one here. Let's see what we got. Whoa.
Yeah, I think it's at the 50-second mark. So they're going to be literally earning money in UE5. Imagine getting your allowance that way as a kid, you know what I mean?
So maybe explain a little bit how the mechanics work, Falcor, as we're watching this.
Yeah, go for it.
You go for it. You're the UE5 guy.
Oh, me? Oh, yeah, no worries. Yeah. So basically, you got to line it up areas. So you're lining up your mining laser. You got to hit 3 of those bullseyes, and then it splits up into smaller rocks. And then basically, you see the smaller rock on the left. Once you bust up those smaller rocks, then you get the gold freaking nugget right there. There's a gold nugget, and you suck it in with the tractor beam. So your mouse wheel, when you hit your mouse wheel and push down on that button, you have a freaking blue tractor beam, and it literally sucks it in. It's in your inventory. So I believe he was getting copper or something, but if you go farther out in the asteroid field, you will actually get titanium and things like that. So this is it. This is like the future of UE5. This was just a thing that we did with Shaga. But
very cool.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's so much fun.
Okay, I've got the full video from the mining.
Yeah, that one's probably way better.
Let's see.
And do you guys talk about Shaga at all?
No.
Falcor, talk about Shaga. I mean, listen, here's what's mind blowing. I mean, Jesse, you haven't been gone that long, and you can just see how much stuff has happened since the last show, right? So it's wild. But Falcor, yeah, talk about Shaga while we load up the next video.
Well, yeah, I mean, basically, it's a streaming thing where anybody can take control of your UE5. You know, they're not controlling any blockchain stuff, but they're basically just playing your character. So, you know, I sort of see it as like, you know, I'm here on the bus, and we got 6 gaming machines we plan on hooking up. So if we're somewhere, anybody can hook up their cell phone to it. Try out Star Atlas, and it just works. So,
all right, the video is ready.
There you go.
If you want to share. Cool.
Yeah, it's much more clear. Yeah.
So on the right, it's a little red box. You have to use your scroll wheel to keep inside that little like white box. And
Okay.
and if you aren't in that box, I think you get basically like rock, or you get dirt, or you get like slag that will reduce the final outcome of the goods that you get. So it'd be like, if you're really good at it, maybe you'll get 99%. So now you see we're flying around because you have to. This is what's so cool, is that it has different spots, and based on the angle of the rock, you may have to come in it from a different direction. And then he's mining again.
So it's basically bot proof gameplay right here, and then you can use your by hitting that mouse wheel, like actually pushing it down, you get the blue. I don't know if it'll show it here, but you get that blue kind of tractor beam.
Oh, there it is, right there. So he finally got it. Boom.
So satisfying.
So imagine this, and when I think they showed this at the town hall, they talked about cooperative mining. So take that big chunk, now multiply it by 100x, and just say you have like a planet-sized asteroid. You can't do it yourself. So just imagine blowing it up and then having like all your buddies come in and then doing their own little piece, and it all working together. So I'm super stoked. It looks cool. It looks a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's exciting times. And by the way, if you haven't, Swag was leaking all weekend, and when Swag leaks, we're all blessed. He did share a cool kind of variant of that, but it was on Planet. I don't know if you guys saw that, but it was kind of the mining game loop, but on a planet. So again, it could be some
I haven't seen that one
resources.
Yet. Which one was
I just
that?
shared it. I think yesterday. It's a short loop, but
okay.
Yeah, man, so much stuff going on, and yeah, it's hard not to be bullish if you're deep enough in Star Atlas.
It's insane just how much content there is out there right now. Like I feel like we've only like 30% of the way through the list. And Jesse, and we were just giving you top level stuff, Jesse. Like
right.
Scratch the surface.
Well, is there any one last thing we want to cover? I don't think we're going to make it through this list, but maybe we could do one more, and then we're after the 2-hour mark. So which is again a lot of content. We had no idea how long we were going to go. We just kind of went into this and said, "Hey, what do we want to talk about?" But lots of stuff covered, man. I feel like I'm not even scratched the surface on getting caught up. But is there any last thing we want to touch on?
I kind of want to touch on Starbase a little bit if we have time.
Let's do it.
All right. I won't go into like crazy detail, but so they're releasing a new patch. Actually, it was supposed to be released on Thursday, but I think it's coming Monday now. And are you familiar with Fix, the faction infrastructure contracts?
No.
Cool. So this may take longer than 5 minutes.
Dig in.
Yeah. So LP system was the original way to get Atlas. We had to upgrade Starbases. We got LP, and that converted to Atlas. So actually, they had Fix, I think, before LP, and then they got rid of them, and they brought them back. So now they're back, and they cut down the Atlas emissions from LP. So they basically moved Atlas emissions out of the LP system and into the Fix system. And that was going really well. I think everyone's loving it, because you have to craft a fic based on, let's say, Oni has frameworks and power sources, and then every week the Starbase would change where you were buying them from. So you would have to fly out on Thursday evening and start moving your fics to this new Starbase to sell them. So pretty cool game loop. It was, a bit more dynamic. But I guess the biggest change was it was individual rewards. There's no like pro rata between, with LP. And it was going so well, they decided to create a FIC2 recipe. So now we've got 2 recipes which you can change out for Atlas. But this one was different. The FIC1 recipe was like very heavy crew. The FIC2 was very heavy mining. So if you had more mining ships, you could do that one and be a bit more successful. And then also it paid out 2.2 Atlas. So it was a 10% better revenue driver.
That's cool. So depending upon your fleet setup, you at least had a couple of different options for the route you wanted to go.
Exactly. So we're talking game loops. We've got LP, which, Oni kept doing. We've got FIC1, FIC2. We have rentals. Now, we didn't even talk about rentals, Jesse. Rentals are out. Fucking hell. So
I've got rentals.
Oh
I
my
got
God.
that far. I got some ships and rentals right now.
Oh, you do? Okay, brilliant. Rentals, you can buy and sell resources. There's like 5 or 6 income. Did I miss any income streams? Buying and selling, just mining raw, selling raw. Oh, right. You can
Arbitrage. I mean, you can move stuff back and forth.
Yep, you can. That's actually a huge one. So I'm in MRZ20, I'm doing my thing, and I need to go pick up SDUs from the CSS to make fix, because there's also SDUs are part of it. So I'm like flying back and forth getting fixed. I was like, well, how can I make this a bit more profitable, because I'm just wasting fuel. So now I bring carbon back to the CSS, and carbon is selling for like 0.4 at MRZ or 0.04 at MRZ20, because that's where you can mine it. So they put it in the local markets, but everyone at the CSS is buying it for 0.06. It's like a 20-30% ARB. Like, okay, I'm just gonna bring some carbon back with me. So that's, and you don't need really, you just need a freighting ship, and maybe you can get like 1% per day if you're pretty smart about it. So yeah, it's getting pretty wild as far as all the different income.
Well,
Yeah.
Wagner mentioned that the freighting arbitrage. So because of local markets now, I mean, I would imagine, are there some opportunities where people are going to whatever the far reaches where there's a local market, and is there enough in the arbitrage to make that game loop to where, you know what, I'm going to bring stuff back to CSS, sell it on the wider marketplace? Is that
I'd say yes and no. Like what Brian just explained is an example of that, but it's kind of more of a little boost to his main loop, right? If he was just moving carbon back and forth all day, he'd make some money, but not a ton. But really, my opinion on the local markets, first of all, has definitely been a huge boon. If you look at Oni, I think MRZ20 is the top local market across the entire map.
right?
But as far as really filling out all the other markets, we really need probably like 3,000 to 5,000 Sage players. There's not enough Sage players to really fill in every hole and gap. But with C4, with all these extra resources coming, with claim stakes, I think it's going to take local markets to a different dimension.
And the game's a bit too easy right now that it's still, people can still just buy everything from the CSS. I can just fly over and buy ammo if I need it and come back. I think once things get farther out, we're going to be seeing a lot more local markets, and it's a bit chicken and egg too, because people aren't necessarily going out to these places because there's no food or ammo. Well, there's no demand because no one's there. So it's like we kind of have to take initiative. So what I've been doing is if I need to go to a star base, even if I don't need food or ammo there, I've been bringing like a couple million a day and just putting it on the market. Just be like, hey, if somebody needs it, it's there. And I think if we all did that, we would start like boosting up the inventories in the local markets. And then, maybe a smaller player will be like, okay, I can't afford to bring ammo out, but if I can buy it at the local market, then I can fly out, mine some titanium, bring that back, and just buy the ammo off the.
So in that case, you're just being more efficient with your use of your cargo bays when you're traveling between places. I mean, why not have it full, maximize the trip?
Exactly. And then also I noticed was that hydrogen was selling for more in MRZ20. So if I wasn't doing SDUs, because I don't need SDUs all the time, then I was like, oh, I should bring hydrogen back. And there is all these little tiny little arbitrage. I believe Mud, for some reason, they have the cheapest food. Like somebody's out there is mining a ton of food and they just sell it locally. So if you don't want to pay full price, you could, fly out to Mud Space.
That's always been the case, though. You remember back when we were looking at the data sheets, and like there was just this one stat that was always off, and it was mud and food.
They just kept going.
Somebody's got a big farm up there. Yeah, since Zamsor brought it up, just a shout out to Lord Raspy, who's a documentary maker. And I think he's cooking up a big pip. Or is it already live, Brian? Do you know if the pip is live? Did we already vote on this?
It's not live yet.
Okay. It's being cooked. But yeah, it's going to be, again, he's a world-class documentary maker, and he's going to be cooking up a pretty cool pip. And I think, I'll save this rabbit hole for maybe the next show. But, one of the things we need to do is really start expanding the Star Atlas marketing beyond the Web3 audience. I think marketing the IP, stuff like the documentary, books, film, shows, more comics, novels, all of these things I think could really start expanding the audience 100 to 1,000 fold. So, something like what Lord Raspy is cooking up, is part of it.
Yeah, we had Michelle and I actually had a call with him and his partner, and they're just such cool people, and their ideas sound absolutely brilliant, and what they want to build, and go to, is it Sundance? Like it's pretty wild. But like I've mentioned this a couple times, that you can feel the momentum shifting, and it's tangible. Like we are hitting that like critical mass. We got filmmakers. I mean, Virtue, I think, is talking to some people as well, right? About other stuff. Are you music?
Yeah. There's it'll be probably the biggest pip that's been presented yet. Still cooking it actually with some people at Automata. So yeah, stay tuned. Probably take a few more weeks, but yeah, I mean, to me, the DAO, the main purpose is to expand the ecosystem, and the way to do that is things like IP and movies and shows and books and documentaries.
We need 20 hours. Every time we talk about something else, there's like 10 more. Okay, I'll tell you. I think we should talk about one last thing. So now that you're familiar with the fix, just jumping back to the LP system, they're removing food from being like a crafting requirement. So before we had to put food into the Starbase in order to get crafting speed 100%.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening was there's just like 2 or 3 people just filling it up with food, and everyone else is leeching off them.
Right.
So, I think Oni was much better. We've had like 10 guys that rotate through and keep MRZ20 going. But the flip side of that is if you're a small player, you have to beat MRZ20, or you're just 50% crafting speed pretty much the whole time, because you can't fill it up yourself. So you had all these players just following around the big whales to get food. But also it had the effect of like other whales that maybe are a bit more greedy just weren't paying attention at all, and they just got free ride for a year. That is ending, so food will no longer play a part in crafting speed. Getting rid of it, so crafting speed is all going to 100%, which is going to open up a whole lot of other crazy things. Because like if you're making fuel and MRZ 25, there's never food there. So you're always at a 50% crafting disadvantage, and crew is expensive. So you would actually transport hydrogen to MRZ 20 where your crew is to get full crafting speed. So it was a bit weird. So now you can actually craft, your fuel where the fuel is,
Right,
and not have to move it. So that's amazing. I'm so excited because we can now have a bit more complicated loops where I'm building on other stations Like,
Mhm.
you know, maybe I'll make frameworks on the titanium planet instead of having to ship everything to where my crews are. So the offset to that, they're not just giving us anything for free. That's not how they work. Is they were making
Not
all
if Chris is involved, there's nothing for free.
So they're making all actions now cost up to 20x more food. Scanning, mining, anything else? Scanning and mining, yes. So those take food. And the practical effect is now everyone is going to have to pay for food. So
Right.
no one can leach anymore. Like maybe there's 100 whales and there's 5 whales refilling the space station. Now all 100 whales are going to have to bring food to do
Right.
their scanning and their mining.
So that at least keeps that keeps up demand for food as well, since you just took away a big sink for where food
I
is
think
groomed.
again, knowing Chris, I think the overall food burn is going to be higher than before. So,
Yes.
Jesse, you'll see me bumming for food in Amsterdam this week to feed the Titan.
Yeah, and it's not just food. It's these players were basically escaping the game loop because, myself and Virtue and Bissy and a lot of guys were doing the food for them. So they didn't have to buy transports. They just
Yeah.
ignored the entire loop. Now they're going to have to move the food as well as have it. So we're going to probably see increase in transport ships, increase in fuel prices, increase in food. It's all going to be this huge economic engine. And one last part about this. So I think it was super clever is they are making it scale based on ship size. So the smaller ships will likely not have a food increase, where the bigger ships will have a much higher food increase. So it's shifting APR at the top end, giving the smaller guys a bit more, which I am so happy for that. Somebody was complaining the other day that their scanners were only getting 150% APR, and after some nerf, they're going to get 90% APR. And I'm like, guys, let's not be too greedy. 150% APR is like insane. It's like Ponzi territory for any. So if we have to give away like 20-30% APR to get the little guys from 5% APR to 20% APR because they're not making that much money, like I'm so happy to do that. Through game mechanics, not taxation.
Right.
All right, Jesse, is it time for the Atlas Miner?
I believe it is, man. I wanted to thank all you guys for jumping on here and absolutely want to see you guys on more often. And you guys have shared a lot, and we could have gone on for probably the next 3 hours. We have show notes, and just looking at the notes, we barely scratched the surface on it, which means we've got lots to cover the next time. Any final parting words, Falcor?
No, I just appreciate being here. Always grateful, and looking forward to the next one.
Very cool. KB, any final thoughts?
Just welcome back. You guys are a staple of Star Atlas, and it's the rebirth, revival. Glad to be a part of it. I'm glad to be part of number one.
Right on, man. How about you, Virtual? First of all, welcome to Amsterdam. But man, any final words?
Go Rob or go home. I will leak that I am writing Star Atlas music again, not using AI tools. Nothing against the AI music creation tools; they're very cool. But I dusted off Ableton and I've written a few songs, which will be released in the next few weeks. And I do have to write Rome's theme song, which is definitely going to be a go Rome or go home. I've got it in my head, so I just got to put it on the keyboard and record it. So stay tuned.
Nice. And hey, wanted to thank all you guys that showed up as well, man. I mean, we didn't really make any noise about this. We just found we didn't post it until just a couple hours before the show, but yet at peak, I think we had about 50 people on, and we've had even more of that to kind of pass through. So that was a big surprise. Cool to have all you guys show up, and of course a bunch of you from Team Star Atlas sticking around for the whole length of it. Appreciate that. And with that, we will see you again on the next one here in the very near future. And as we always do, we're going to take you out with a Star Atlas classic. Peace.
Atlas Minor, you were born to push the black in search of ore. And now it's time that you are gone, so farewell, Atlas Minor. And farewell, Mud and Oni too. Who's the sector same to you? The pirate bastards ran him through, so farewell, Atlas Minor. They promised you a diamond mine, but I'll be damned, it's hard to find. I hope there's justice for their crimes, and farewell, Atlas Minor. And farewell, friend, don't take it hard. Getting killed ain't all that bad. They'll treat you well in the repair yard, so farewell, Atlas